My parents convinced my fiancé to marry my older brother. They said, "He's successful with a real future." Heartbroken, I disappeared to build my empire. Years later, at a charity gala I hosted, they saw my wife and nearly collapsed. Chapter 1. The family meeting that broke me. I still remember the smell of the coffee on the table, bitter, burnt, untouched, and the weight of that Sunday morning sun pouring through my parents' window like it was trying to spotlight the betrayal. We were all there. Me, my fiancée Alina, my parents, and my older brother Derek. They'd called it a family breakfast, but the tension told me otherwise. Alina was unusually quiet, her engagement ring heavy on her finger, her eyes darting between mine and my mother's. My father cleared his throat. "Son, we need to talk about the wedding." I frowned. "What's there to talk about?" "We're 6 weeks away. Venues are booked." Alina picked her dress. My mother cut me off. "You're not ready." "What?" "You're still struggling. Your little business hasn't taken off, and marriage needs stability. Responsibility." Alina looked down. I blinked, stunned. "You mean to tell me you think I shouldn't marry because I'm not Derek?" Derek sat silently, arms crossed, not saying a word. But he didn't deny it either. My mother exhaled through her nose. "Alina needs someone secure, someone with a real future. You're talented, sweetheart. But Derek's already there. He's VP at Sabletech. He has a penthouse, a 401k, stock options. I'm building something real too," I snapped. "Just because it's not flashy yet..." My father raised a hand. "It's not personal. We love you. But we also know what's best for Alina." And that's when I knew. They'd talked to her, convinced her, pressured her. Alina finally looked at me, and I saw it in her eyes. Guilt, but also agreement. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I just think maybe your parents are right." I stood. That moment didn't need shouting. It didn't need drama. Just silence. I took off the ring I was planning to give her at the altar and placed it gently in front of her. "Then this is the last family breakfast I'll ever attend." And I left. No bags, no speech, just a cold wind at my back and a fire building inside me. They thought I was a boy without direction. They had no idea I was about to become a man with an empire. Chapter 2. The vanishing act I didn't pack. I didn't explain. I simply vanished. That same afternoon, I walked out of my parents' house with nothing but my wallet and my car keys. No luggage, no goodbye, just the brutal silence of a son they never believed in. I drove, for hours, across state lines, through unfamiliar towns, radio off, mind racing. Eventually, I found myself staring at the Pacific Ocean from a roadside overlook in California, the sun dropping like a curtain over the horizon. That's when I made a promise. Not to them, but to myself. I'll never beg to be loved again. I'll build something so powerful, they'll regret ever thinking I wasn't enough. The years that followed. I started small. A co-working desk in a startup incubator. I cleaned offices at night to pay for ad space during the day. I coded. I sold. I failed. I learned. I pivoted. I taught myself everything. Branding, logistics, finance, digital marketing. Every birthday I missed, every Thanksgiving spent alone, I added fuel to the fire. They thought I disappeared into failure, but I was quietly becoming something bigger. 3 years later, I launched my first company, NovaCaps, a boutique venture firm that funded underdog startups. By year 5, I wasn't just surviving. I was being invited to Forbes panels. I was hiring people like Derek used to command, and I was still invisible to them. By design. The final push. But success wasn't enough. Something still burned inside me. Not just the betrayal from Alina, but the smug way my parents had treated my love like a transaction, like I was the charity case, the weaker son. And that's when fate handed me an opportunity. I was asked to co-sponsor a charity gala in my hometown. Not just any gala, the annual Legacy fundraiser, hosted at the same country club where my family had celebrated Derek's engagement. Suddenly, I wasn't invisible anymore. I was anonymous power, and I knew exactly what I'd do next. Chapter 3. The guest list. The gala planning team didn't know who I was. Not really. To them, I was just Mr. Reeves, the quiet philanthropist funding half the event. I made one simple request: full control over the guest list and seating chart. No one questioned it. Money talks. The invitations I used aliases. My company's name was nowhere. Even the email address was a shell, everlight.events@protonmail.com. But the invitations were exquisite. Embossed gold leaf on ivory cardstock, delivered by hand. One landed in my parents' mailbox, another in Derek's office. And one, the final one, was delivered to Alina's condo, hand-addressed with perfect calligraphy. To Ms. Alina Walker. You are cordially invited to the Legacy Fundraising Gala, benefiting the Underprivileged Youth Foundation. Formal attire, black tie. Location, Belridge Country Club. Date, October 21st, 7 p.m. My parents' reaction from a distance. I still had eyes in town, old classmates, a few former neighbors. One sent me a photo from outside my parents' house the day the invitation arrived. My mother stood frozen in the doorway, holding the envelope like it was radioactive. My father, ever the skeptic, flipped it over and muttered something. The neighbor swore he heard, "We weren't invited last year. Why now?" They didn't know it yet, but this year's gala wasn't just a fundraiser. It was the beginning of their reckoning. A carefully crafted scene. The seating chart was a masterpiece of subtle traps. My parents, center table, facing the stage. Derek and Alina, placed at table 4, labeled Distinguished Guests. Across the ballroom, my table, marked only as benefactor. The final blow was already in place. A short speech scheduled just before dessert, listed in the program as Honoring a New Kind of Legacy. Keynote by special guest that special guest. Me, the calm before the fire. As the night approached, I rehearsed the speech, not for praise, not for applause, but to finally say everything I'd swallowed for years, not with anger, but with precision. I wasn't here to scream. I was here to show them. Chapter 4. The gala begins. The Belridge Country Club shimmered like a jewel under the fall moonlight. Golden lanterns lit the path up the marble steps. A string quartet played softly inside the entrance hall. Valets in white gloves opened doors as guests arrived in silk gowns and tailored tuxedos, none aware of the storm quietly waiting behind the curtain. The arrival. My parents arrived first, my mother in a navy satin dress, my father in his dated tux. He glanced around, unimpressed. She, however, scanned every face like she was preparing for war. They were ushered to their seats with practiced grace. Then came Derek and Alina. He wore a smug grin, one arm around her waist. She was stunning, as always, a backless red dress, diamonds on her wrist. And yet, when she stepped into the ballroom and saw my portrait framed near the stage, her body froze. Is this? No, can't be, Derek muttered. She knew. She knew it was me. She just hadn't figured out how deep the roots of this night went. A chilly recognition. As the guests mingled over hors d'oeuvres, soft glances were exchanged. Alina whispered something into Derek's ear, her fingers tightening around his arm. He looked at my photo again. Recognition flickered across his smug expression, and for a moment, the confidence drained from his face. They hadn't seen me yet. I stood behind the velvet curtain, watching from a slit, close enough to feel the tension, far enough to savor it. My assistant leaned in, whispering, 10 minutes until your speech, Mr. Reeves. Make it 15, I said, eyes locked on table 4. Let them stew a little longer. The lights dim. At precisely 8:30 p.m., the room darkened. A single spotlight fell on the stage. The MC stepped forward. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's keynote speaker is a man whose vision, generosity, and resilience have changed thousands of lives. Please welcome the founder and CEO of Everlight Holdings. Pause. Mr. Nathaniel Reeves. Gasps, heads turned, and in the audience, 3 faces turned to stone. My mother gripped her chair. My father's lips parted, but no words came. Derek looked like he'd seen a ghost. But Alina's eyes welled. She whispered, I could see it clearly across the ballroom. It's him. The walk. I stepped out from behind the curtain, tailored suit sharp, tie immaculate. I didn't look left or right, just forward. The applause was polite but confused. They didn't know me, but my family did. And this moment, this was the beginning, not of a speech, but of the reckoning. Chapter 5. The speech they never saw coming. The applause faded as I approached the podium. Behind me, a giant projection screen flickered to life, showing photos from our charity missions, orphanages in Detroit, rebuilding schools in West Virginia, clean water projects in Flint. The audience watched with warm smiles. But I wasn't watching them. I was watching Table 4. Derek looked pale. Alina wouldn't meet my eyes. My mother kept adjusting her necklace. My father stared like he was calculating an exit route. Good. Let's begin. A story about a boy they gave up on. Good evening, I began, voice steady, tone calm. Tonight isn't about me. It's about second chances, I paused. But to explain why I believe in second chances, I need to tell you a story. A story about a boy who once dreamed of starting a small business. Nothing flashy, just a tech repair shop in a modest part of town. He had plans, he had heart, and he had someone he loved. At that, Alina stiffened. But his parents said, "You're not ready. You're chasing dust." And the girl he planned to marry? She left him for his older brother, the one with a polished degree and a polished life. Now the entire room was silent. Even the string quartet in the back stopped playing. I took a sip of water. So the boy disappeared, left everything behind. Friends, family, even his name. And he worked. He failed. Then worked harder. Lived in his car some nights. Ate noodles for weeks. Until one day the company he built with $200 became something real. I smiled faintly. That boy was me. Gasps rippled across the room. The camera shift. The projector now showed before and after images. My tiny one-room apartment, my first check from Everlight Holdings, then boardroom photos, tech conferences, awards. I wasn't bragging. I was building the contrast. This gala, this organization, it was born from that pain, from the fire of rejection. So tonight, we honor those who were told, "You'll never make it," and rose anyway. I paused. But let's not pretend this moment is without irony. Because some of the people who once looked me in the eye and said, "You're not good enough," I turned toward Table 4, are here tonight. Dead silence. I forgive you, but I don't forget. To them, I say, I forgive you, truly. You taught me something valuable. I raise the champagne glass. But make no mistake, I do not forget. And I do not return to what burned me. My father stood up, clearly flustered. My mother hissed something at him. Alina looked like she might cry. I didn't flinch. Tonight's theme is rebuilding. But some bridges, they're better left ashes, a standing ovation, and a table in shock. When I finished, the room erupted in applause, not out of politeness, but because they felt it. The truth, the pain, the power of survival. All of it was real. But Table 4? They sat frozen. No one spoke. No one clapped. Alina was trembling. Derek stared at the tablecloth. It was only just beginning, because what came next would change everything. Chapter 6. The Silent Walkout. The applause thundered on, echoing off marble and crystal chandeliers, but it was hollow for 4 people. At Table 4, my parents sat frozen. Derek clenched his jaw like it was wired shut. Alina, her hands trembling, finally looked up. Her eyes met mine. And for a fleeting second, I saw the girl I once loved. But that girl was long gone. They know who you are. As I stepped down from the stage, a stream of donors and guests approached me. Incredible speech. You've inspired us all. You should run for office. I nodded politely, grateful, but watching from the corner of my eye. My family stood one by one. First Derek, face red with anger, then my mother, clutching her clutch like it was a lifeline, then my father, stiff and mechanical. Last, Alina. Her eyes were wet, but she said nothing. They turned to leave. "Let them go," my wife whispered from behind me. A soft hand found mine. It was Amara, my wife, strong, brilliant, the woman who helped me rebuild brick by brick. She leaned close. "Let them go. They walked out on you years ago. This time they're just walking out of a room." I exhaled. Years of pain and longing collapsed into that moment. I didn't need closure. They had just handed it to me, in silence. The gala continues without them. As they disappeared through the grand exit doors, a few guests turned to whisper. Some recognized them, some had heard rumors, but most didn't care. Because the story of the night wasn't about the family that abandoned a son, it was about the man who rose anyway, and the woman who stood beside him. Behind the curtain, a secret reveal backstage. As I took a breath and removed my mic, my assistant handed me a sleek black folder. "These are the final documents you asked me to hold. Want to do it now?" I nodded. Inside the folder, notarized trust revocations, updated wills, power of attorney shifts. The real family legacy, once promised to Derek, was now redirected. 2 community centers, to scholarship programs, and to the woman who stayed when no one else did, Amara. Chapter 7. The Inheritance They Never Saw. Coming 3 days after the gala, a silver envelope arrived at my parents' front porch, hand-delivered by a courier in a sharp black suit. No return address. Just a gold seal stamped with the initials, E.L. My father opened it first. My mother stood behind him. Derek, on speakerphone, barked, "What the hell is this now?" They unfolded the letter and read words that would unravel their version of reality. Effective immediately. To Mr. and Mrs. Langston and Mr. Derek Langston, I write to inform you of changes made to the Langston family trust and estate planning structure as of this calendar year. It was all legalese at first. Then came the thunderclap. Effective immediately, the Langston estate and its associated business assets, previously designated to Derek Langston per verbal intent, have been redirected. All charitable disbursements, philanthropic projects, and capital holdings fall under the control of Ethan Langston, the undersigned, as both trustee and principal stakeholder. Signed, sealed, final. No more legacy son. All the family's talk, Derek will carry our name, you're just the spare, you chose exile, was now ash in their mouths. They had gambled on Derek, but I had built everything they once dreamed of, and more, and I had done it without them, back at the ranch. Meanwhile, I sat on the patio of my Colorado ranch, watching Amara feed the horses. The sun was setting low behind the Rockies, casting fire across the sky. My phone buzzed with 3 missed calls, all from Mom. I silenced it, then checked my calendar. Next, board meeting for the Langston Innovation Grant. Guest speaker, Amara Langston. A name they'd never thought she'd carry when they saw the press release a week later. Amara Langston to chair Education Reform Panel. I'm sure it stung. The same woman they once treated like a footnote in my past now bore the family name, but by choice, not pressure, not guilt, not manipulation. One final twist. They thought they chose the right son. But in choosing Derek, they lost everything they thought they'd gain. Influence, money, legacy, control. And in trying to destroy my future, they guaranteed I'd never need them in it. Epilogue. The seat that stayed empty. 1 year later, I hosted a private dinner on the anniversary of the charity gala. Not a 1,000-person event this time. Just a quiet evening in my vineyard estate, lit with string lights, soft jazz echoing off the stone columns. Close friends, trusted partners, Amara by my side. There was one empty seat at the long oak table. It had a name card, reserved, Langston family, deliberately placed, left untouched, a gentle reminder. Some of my guests asked softly, "Wasn't this for your parents?" I nodded with a half smile. "They had a lifetime to sit here," I said, "but they chose someone else." No bitterness, no anger, just a truth finally spoken without pain. Derek? Still nowhere word had it. Derek's marriage didn't last. Not even 2 years. He'd tried starting a business using Dad's old contacts, but his reputation, post-Gala, made investors wary. Even our hometown papers no longer printed his name. I wasn't gloating. I wasn't even watching. I had simply moved on. My father's letter. A month before this dinner, I received a handwritten letter from my father. "You were always the quieter son. We thought silence meant weakness. We never realized it meant strength." He didn't ask for forgiveness, just understanding. I didn't reply. Some wounds aren't meant to be reopened, just left where they belong, in the past. Amara's whisper. That night, as we cleared the last glasses and the vines swayed in the mountain wind, Amara touched my arm and whispered, "You did it, Ethan." Without becoming them, I looked at the seat again, still empty, flickering in candlelight. And I knew. Revenge hadn't made me whole, walking away had. Was this revenge perfectly justified, or should the storm have raged harder? Drop your verdict below. I read every single one. If you are watching this video, comment below and tell us where you are watching this video from.